For organizations to harness the power of AI, they need to have a sound data strategy and structure and system of governance in place. The use of AI in any organization starts with having your data ready for that journey. Addressing these challenges requires collaborative efforts between subject matter experts, the business, and the technical leads in any organization. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and here to talk about that today is Dave Dorsett, Principal Software and Systems Architect at Astrix. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. And let me start by asking, how does having a sound foundational strategy and structure in place benefit organizations actually trying to harness AI?
It's really a fundamental requirement in a lot of ways. In order to actually, reap the benefit of AI in terms of like giving you predictive or descriptive types of capabilities, it has to be fed, clear, contextualized, relevant data fundamentally. I think that is one of the core predecessors of any successful use of AI or any modeling technologies in general. The data sets don't have to be large necessarily. There's many techniques, and there's certainly a lot of evolving techniques these days in the narrow AI fields, narrow AI applications. But nevertheless, the data sets that are operated on by AI/ML must be, actually focused on the problems that you're trying to answer.
And then what's your feeling about why it is so important for the business side and the science technical side leads to also work together with the IT folks when it comes to leveraging AI for more effective results?
Well, from a pure technology perspective, just having, the technology in hand and applying it, sort of to problems without the domain guidance essentially of that is really not going to really resolve anything from a business perspective. You're not going to get the kinds of returns on investment that you would actually be looking for from the domain side of things. So it's important that the domain side guide, as I was just mentioning before, what context and what relevant data actually needs to be sort of, used and modeled and worked through essentially the AI/ML processes in order to make sense of this at the end of the day. It's not just purely a technology problem, and it's not just purely a domain problem. You need that combination of actionable sides.
And speaking of kind of the science side, if you will, could you elaborate on how using AI and machine learning allows science-based organizations, research organizations, et cetera, to achieve advances more rapidly?
There's been a lot of interesting progress in this space. Obviously, in research and development and science organizations, for a long time we've been using modeling techniques, various forms to do predictive sorts of work. The newer generations of AI and ML, have been able to take on some very interesting problem sets. There's been some relatively interesting stuff recently about development of some new novel protein designs by AI/ML techniques. AlphaFold from Google has been around for a while, does some interesting things with protein structure predictions. There are limitations to these mechanisms. It's still sort of early days in terms of like how we're actually going to do this and what we're really doing. I think there's some interesting, let's call it more even, tactical types of things that I see actually going on. Just the application of AI/ML to making better use of the systems we have now and the data we already have. So using AI/ML techniques to actually improve the existing usage of our analytic systems. We have generally as an industry a tremendous amount of R&D data locked away in our systems, and one of the challenges is findability and usability of that information that we already have. And that's an interesting application of sort of, GPT, large language model, kinds of techniques to just help the scientists find what they need when they actually need it. It's not necessarily a very heavily exciting sort of application of AI/ML where the machine is telling you what new drug to go make or something along those lines. But it's an important aspects of things, and it could actually be a very positive return on investment for folks actually looking to leverage what they already have better.
Certainly makes sense. There are a lot of IT and systems integrators out there and folks that are really pioneering AI. Talk to us a little about why working with a technology partner that understands science as well as IT is important to helping science-based organizations succeed.
Back to a little bit of what I was speaking about before, I think there's a bit of work that's required and experience is required in the selection of the right problem sets, in order to actually get back any kind of a return on a technical investment, in the process of either producing the data or using the data or building the models. You really need to have a good balanced guidance, that is actually informed on both sides of that equation, both the technology side and the science side of things. So I really think it's critical in order to actually achieve in our segment, in the R&D segment, any kind of real benefit that you get that kind of a balanced approach.
And then lastly, what parting recommendations would you offer, public sector leaders about, and also research organizations at large about overcoming inherent challenges about applying AI to science, be it the people, the culture, or the technical challenges?
The technical challenges of the systems themselves aren't actually so much of the issue. There's a substantial amount of people challenges, but I really think that the biggest thing to focus on is choosing the right way to iterate on the problems that you want to solve. So, throwing a lot of money after something that requires a tremendous amount of investment in data preparation and data cleansing is probably not going to get you to a success point. As I was just mentioning before, looking around at what you already have a fairly good handle on in terms of your data sources and in terms of your internal data structures, and then thinking creatively about how you might actually find small applications of these technologies, AI, ML technologies, in that area, and then actually sort of setting up an iteration, on it is the fundamentally the better approach I would recommend. Yeah.
Well, Dave Dorsett, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us here and share your perspective about the importance of the role that
Mhm.
science-based organizations can play in helping public sector organizations and researchers take greater advantage of AI applications in their organizations. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.